Welcome, Wapham crew, guys, gals, ghouls, and other worldly beings. Let's climb aboard the mothership, secure our tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I'm your ghostess, TessaTNT, broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're having an awesome Sunday. Mine's been pretty chill and laid back. Just been hanging out with the kiddos. Got some colds going around, which is not fun. Coughing fits going everywhere, but otherwise it's been a good day. All right, so if you want to listen or view me in the meantime, in your free time, whether you're working it or working out, you can find me on YouTube under We Are Paradox Media, and anywhere else that you like listening to broadcasts and podcasts, you should be able to find me there. So we're going to get into some trippy TikToks. If the flow doesn't go the way I want it to, we might be searching for stuff. So it won't be as fast moving, but we'll be looking at stuff we want to look at. Let's do it. Oh. Sorry. Tying it. All right, let's see. Press the wrong button.
Hey folks, I want to take a minute here to address a really important question that Nita asked. And I appreciate the question because it shows she's really thinking deeply about what we've been sharing here. She asked, so what about the people that have already passed that didn't figure this out? So no one goes to hell? Is the Bible not right then? Is Jesus the Son of Yahweh? Let me walk softly here because I know this touches on the beliefs that are sacred to a lot of people. First off, let's talk about hell. The concept of hell as an eternal fire and brimstone or torture chamber. That's not actually in the original Hebrew scriptures. That imagery came later, a lot of it through Greek influence and medieval church teachings. The word hell in the Bible is translated from different words. Sheol, Gehenna, Hades. And they didn't originally mean what we've been taught to believe. Here's what I've come to understand. Hell is a state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's separation from the divine. It's forgetting who we truly are. And let me tell you something. You can experience hell right here, right now, in this life. When you're disconnected from the kingdom within, when you've forgotten that divine nature, you're already living in a kind of hell. Now, as for those who've already passed, here's where it gets beautiful. The journey don't end when the body does. Spiritual awakening, spiritual growth, all of that continues beyond this physical existence. Because even in the scriptures, there's hints of this. Like when it talks about Yeshua preaching to the spirits in prison. Now, that suggests to me that the opportunity for spiritual evolution doesn't just stop at death. The divine source, whether you call it God, Yahweh, the monad, the Great Spirit, the Father, isn't sitting up there with a scorecard waiting to condemn people. That's a man-made concept designed to control people through nothing but plain old fear.
No.
The truth is, the divine wants every soul to remember their true nature, to return to the awareness of who they truly are. And that can happen in this life or beyond. Is the Bible right? Well, the Bible contains truth that's been translated, edited, and interpreted through the lens of institutions that had their own agenda. When you dig into the original text, when you read the lost books, when you look at what Yeshua was actually teaching, it's about awakening to the Christ consciousness within you. It's about realizing that you are a divine being having a human experience. Is Jesus the Son of Yahweh? Yes. But so are you. So am I. We're all children of the divine source, and that's what he taught. Yeshua came to show us the way, to demonstrate what it means to live in full awareness of our divinity. He said, "These things I do, you will do also, and greater than these." That's not the statement of somebody that wants to be worshiped. That's the statement of a teacher showing us our own potential. So, Nita, to answer your question directly, those who passed without this knowledge, their journey continues. The divine love doesn't give up on anybody. We all eventually find our way home. Maybe not in the timeline that we think, maybe not in the way religious institutions have taught us, but we all return to source. And that, my friends, is the good news that Yeshua came to share.
As a hypnotherapist, I've worked with a lot of people to help them get rid of their fears and phobias. So I thought it would be fun to look online and see what celebrities are afraid of. And I haven't worked with these celebrities, and I don't know for a fact if they really have these fears and phobias. I just thought it'd be fun to share it with you. So that's my disclaimer. Let's get started. Matthew McConaughey has a fear of revolving doors. Kristen Bell is afraid of pruned skin. So how does she go to the beach or take a bath? Orlando Bloom is afraid of pigs. Scarlett Johansson has a fear of birds. How does she go outside? Megan Fox is afraid of touching paper. So does that mean she can't touch money? Billy Bob Thornton is afraid of antique furniture. Johnny Depp is afraid of clowns. Britney Spears is afraid of reptiles. But that doesn't make any sense, because she did that whole performance with that snake, so I don't get it. Channing Tatum's afraid of dolls. Tom Cruise is afraid of balding, but I thought I heard he wears a toupee, so maybe that's why. Eminem is afraid of owls, and Rihanna is afraid of fish. I don't know any of these celebrities, but if you do, send them my way, because I can help. Let me know in the comments which one you thought was the most wild.
Listen up. Elon Musk reveals X money may launch soon, fueling crypto speculation. Claims mass and energy will replace US dollar as future currency. It's almost like what I was talking about a month ago is actually gonna happen. So he's claiming mass and energy will replace the US dollar. Now, let me remind you who his grandfather is. Joshua Haldeman. He was part of the technocracy movement. The technocracy movement was a social movement active in the United States and Canada in the 1930s. And it favored a technocracy as a system of government over representative democracy and partisan politics. As in, technocrats would rule and not politicians. Because if you haven't noticed, they are trying to intentionally divide all of us and put us on one or two sides. And that was all by design, so that they could bring this in instead. This is the map of the North American technate, which grandfather of Elon Musk and his colleagues drew up. It has Greenland, Canada, United States, Mexico, and Venezuela. So it seems like everything's going as planned. What these technocrats wanted was an energy distribution card for every citizen. Everyone would get a card and you would have an allotment of energy that you could use. You cannot go over your energy allotment. You cannot sell your card. You cannot give it away. And you cannot roll over your energy benefits. If you do not use it all, it's just gone. Now, a lot of us have been talking about this patent for a long time. 060606. It's cryptocurrency system using body activity data. Trump has already said that we're going to be the cryptocurrency capital of the world. And they just passed the Genius Act, which they are implementing stable coins. It's going to eventually replace cash because they can't control someone with cash. Now, Elon says that mass energy will replace the US dollar. Well, with this patent tied to cryptocurrency, it does just that. You will have a device or a chip implanted in your body that will sense your body activity, the energy you produce, and it will be tied to a cryptocurrency system. And if it verifies that your body activity satisfies one or more conditions set by the cryptocurrency system, you will get paid. But only if it is verified. Everyone needs to wake up to the times we are living in. Jesus could return for his church any day now, and you don't want to be left. The Bible says that if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe that he died, was buried, and rose again for the remission of your sins, you will be saved. Don't wait until it's too late.
You are casting spells every time that you speak. Why do you think it's called spelling? You can turn your own voice into a programming tool for the prison. Every word in the dictionary is a piece of the archonic code that was designed exactly to define your reality within their limitations. This is the Gnostic teaching on the language of the lie from the Gospel of Philip. And this is what informs us on how the demiurge used the word in order to stabilize his false creation, why language itself is archonic technology that traps consciousness in conceptual prisons, and how every time that you speak, you're unconsciously reinforcing the matrix through the linguistic programming that the ancient Egyptians understood as literal magic, which is why we call it spelling, because words literally cast spells that shape reality. Oh yeah, and if you're interested in learning more about Gnosticism and other mystery traditions like Kabbalah, Rosicrucianism, and Hermeticism, make sure to hit the link in my bio because the doors to the inner sanctum are opening for a limited time very soon, so if you're interested, make sure to click the link. And now that you're ready, let's start with the demiurge's weapon. So the Gospel of Philip states this explicitly. Names given to worldly things are very deceptive, for they divert our thoughts from what is correct to what is incorrect. Thus, one who hears the word God does not perceive what is correct, but perceives what is incorrect. Language is the demiurge's primary control mechanism. When Yaldabaoth created the material world, it was chaotic and unstable, matter constantly threatening to dissolve back into the void, so he needed to solidify it, to make it persistent, to lock consciousness into believing that this false creation was real. He used the word. Not the divine logos from the pleroma, but a corrupted imitation. Words that define, limit, separate, and categorize. By naming things, he made them solid. By creating language, he gave humans a tool that would trap them in his conceptual framework every time they used it. The Gospel of Philip explains this. The names which are heard in the world for the purpose of deception. If they were in the eternal realm, they would at no time be used as names in the world. Language only exists in the material realm. The pleroma has no words because truth is known directly. You don't need to call something love when you are love. You don't need the word light when you exist as light. And language is the symptom of separation. And if consciousness has been cut off from direct knowing, it must use symbols instead to point at what it can no longer perceive directly. And I'm shocked that so many people haven't heard this before, but this is why it's called spelling. And that's because the English language preserves the truth in plain sight. You arrange letters, cast a spell to create words that define reality. Spelling is not a metaphor. It's a literal description of the magical operation you perform every time you speak. Ancient Egyptians, they knew this. Their hieroglyphs weren't just communication, they were heka or magic. The power to shape reality through symbolic representation. Speaking and writing were acts of creation, of making the unseen visible, of binding consciousness to specific forms through linguistic definition. Now the phrase spell it out means make something explicit, to bring it into manifestation through language. Now cast a spell means use words in order to affect reality. Under a spell means controlled by linguistic programming. The terminology itself reveals what's happening beneath the surface. Language as sorcery, words as reality, shaping technology. Now, when you learn to read and write, you're being initiated into the archonic linguistic system. You're taught which sounds correspond to which symbols, how to arrange them into patterns to generate meaning, and how to think in words rather than direct perception. This is the Archons programming you to use their reality definition tool. Every definition you memorize is a limitation you accept. What is human mean? Mortal being. You've just agreed that you're mortal by accepting the definition. What does body mean? Physical form subject to decay. You've just locked yourself into identifying with something temporary by using the word. Now, the Gospel of Phil warns us against this, saying, one single name is not uttered in the world, the name which the Father gave to the Son. It is the name above all things, for the Father's name would not become the Son unless he were to clothe himself with the Son's name, the true name, the name that carries divine power, and it can't be spoken in the language of this world. The archonic language system specifically excludes it. You can say God, but that word doesn't connect you as well to the divine. It connects you to a concept, a definition, and a limitation packaged as sacred. That's right. All of us are living in a linguistic prison. Every time you describe yourself using words, you're defining yourself into the archonic system. I'm a human. I'm male or female. I'm an American or British or an Indian. I'm a doctor, a teacher, or an artist. Every phrase that you're saying contracts your consciousness into a specific category within the demiurge's taxonomy. The Gospel of Phil states, when we were Hebrews, we were orphans and had only our mother. But when we became Christians, we had both father and mother. It's pointing to how linguistic labels shape your perceived reality and lineage. Change the words that you use for yourself and change the relationship to the cosmos. But here's the deeper trap. Even spiritual language is archonic. Soul, consciousness, and enlightenment. These are still words, still definitions, and still conceptual boxes. The demiurge doesn't care if you're using materialist language or mystical language as long as you're using language, because language itself is the trap. Now, thinking in words means thinking in the archonic code. There's no way around this. Your internal monologue is archonic software that's running in your mind. Counterfeit spirit generates verbal thoughts specifically to keep you imprisoned in linguistic definition rather than resting in wordless awareness. This is why mystical traditions emphasize silence, not just external silence, but internal silence, cessation of verbal thought. The space between words where direct
This guy talks really fast.
gnosis occurs. When you stop thinking in language, even for a moment, you've temporarily escaped the demiurge's primary control system. And now that you have the background, let's go even deeper into the Egyptian understanding. Ancient Egypt understood language as literal magic, or heka. The gods created reality by speaking it into existence. Ma'at, the principle of truth and order, was maintained through correct speech. Words were so powerful that names could be erased from monuments to magically erase the person from existence. The hieroglyphic system reflected this understanding too. Each symbol carried multiple layers of meaning: phonetic, ideographic, and sacred. Writing someone's name activated their essence. Speaking a spell with correct pronunciation and intention manifested the described result in physical reality. But here's what the Egyptians knew that modern humans forgot. Language is technology. Like all technology, it can be used for liberation or imprisonment. The same heka that maintains Ma'at can also be used to bind, curse, and trap. Now, the Archons took the Egyptian understanding of language as magic and they weaponized it. They created dictionaries, books of definitions that established the boundaries of acceptable reality. They created grammar, rules that structure thought into predetermined patterns. They created vocabulary, a limited set of concepts that you're allowed to think with. Every language is a worldview. The words available in the language determine what thoughts are easily thinkable. If a language has no words for a concept, that concept becomes nearly impossible to communicate or even conceive within that linguistic framework. The Archons designed languages specifically to exclude concepts that would lead to gnosis. Alright, Blaine, I'm in a linguistic prison cell. How do I break out? Well, the Gospel of Philip offers the solution. Truth did not come into the world naked, but it came in types of images. The world will not receive truth in any other way. You can't escape language entirely while embodied, but you can recognize it as archonic technology and use it consciously rather than being used by it. You can speak words while knowing that the words are pointing at truth rather than being truth themselves. This is why Gnostic texts use paradox, contradiction, and negation so heavily. They're trying to break linguistic programming by making you think beyond the definitions. The Father is unknowable, followed by extensive description of the Father. The contradiction is what forces you past conceptual understanding into direct perception. When you say I am without adding a definition, you're using language to point beyond language. When you negate every description, not this and not that, you're using the archonic tool to transcend the archonic system. This practice is catching yourself defining reality through language and pausing. Notice when you verbally categorize an experience and ask yourself, what was the direct perception before I labeled it? What am I experiencing beneath all the linguistic interpretation? And no matter what faith you believe in, this is why this teaching is so important for every human human being on the planet. Understanding language's archonic technology means recognizing that the voice in your head isn't speaking truth. It's running a program designed to keep you defined with a material limitation. Every verbal thought is a micro spell reinforcing your belief that you're a separate, limited, and mortal being trapped in time. But you are not what the words describe. You're the wordless awareness that witnesses the words themselves. You're not the spelling, you're the consciousness that observes the spells being cast. The Archons gave you a dictionary to define yourself with, but you're what exists before and beyond every definition. The Gospel of God promises, he who has knowledge of the truth is free. That knowledge comes not through accumulating more words, but through recognizing that truth exists in the silence beneath the language, in the direct knowing that precedes verbal thought, and in the divine knowing that doesn't need words to recognize its own nature. Stop spelling your prison into existence. Rest in the wordless awareness that exists before you name it. That's where the demiurge's power ends and your divine nature begins. So if you want more Gnostic teachings on language and liberation, make sure to like the video. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Click the link in my bio if you're interested in more information and follow more deep dives like this. Until next time, guys.
I thought I heard you just come through and say get a priest here. Is that true? Did you say that? Need a yes or a no?
Okay, we're going to leave very soon, so if there's anything you want to tell us, please come through and say now, please. Somebody asking us for help. Do you need help?
So it's saying I'm getting a lot of help, please help, and then I thought I heard priest. I'm gonna wind it back just a little bit, rewind it just a little bit.
Somebody asking us for help. Do you need help?
Send the priest. Listen.
Do you think this is a picture of a ghost or no? I have people tag me in videos, send me photos and stuff, asking what my opinion is on stuff like this. As I've said before, you have to have a bit of skepticism doing what I do. In this day and age where everything can be fake, you have to look at everything objectively. So if we just look at this at face value, I have to say that I'm not really sure what this is. Looking at this photo, you can actually see the color and facial expressions in her, but nothing is in the shadow figure that's behind her or the silhouette that's behind her. And on the bottom right here, you can actually see the shadow of her taking the photo, and that's the only set of hands that I see. Now, she claims that she's taken this photo of a renovation of a home, and she wanted to get a picture of this window that they just installed. And she claims that she was by herself taking this photo. As they say, renovations can stir up spirits, and maybe that's what she's capturing here. What do you think? Leave your thoughts below. Thanks for watching.
This is to end in fire.
Guys, yesterday they have just announced a massive archaeological rescue mission to try and find the lost labyrinth of Egypt underneath the Hawara pyramid. To just quickly catch you up to speed on what's happening with this site. This is the pyramid of Hawara, and historically there has been this massive legend that underneath the pyramid there is a huge labyrinth that apparently Herodotus was quoted as saying that it was more impressive and astonishing and mind-blowing than the pyramids of Giza, that it had 3,000 rooms, that it was massive sub-levels after sub-level after sub-level, And basically, in the last sort of 50 years, academia has laughed it off or just written it away as some sort of myth. But there has been multiple independent scans of different companies, different scanning methods, LiDAR, satellite, who have all found evidence that there is in fact a huge complex underneath this site, and the evidence was so convincing that it has now got full permission from the Egyptian authorities to start digging. So you can understand how phenomenally excited I am. This is the Pyramid of Hawara and the canal that runs alongside it. This is a little bit of the insane rat run of level. It's a true labyrinth. I can't even talk. I'm so excited. It goes down to potentially minus 100 meters. There are chambers in here that are huge, 40 meters, 50 meters, 80 meters. Rokla University, the Matahar expedition in 2008-2009, which was massively silenced by the Egyptian authorities at the time when they came out with this data. We've got Merlin Burrows did satellite scans. They are a legit British satellite scanning company that are affiliated with the army, the British Army. They use the same satellites as the British Army. There we go. And then we've got Geoscan. All of these guys have correlating data showing the same thing. What is the use of having all these scans and data if we can't actually get on the ground, digging stuff up and seeing with our own eyes? Well, that's about to happen. They have announced a preservation plan and a rescue mission to start digging down in this site, literally as of now. They could start digging next month. And it's proper, it's all official. It has a short-term plan, a medium-term plan, and a long-term plan for the site and for the area, for like long-term preservation, like working, getting local people employed in the site, boosting tourism. It's all in the preservation plan that you can download yourself. Go to archaeologicalrescue.org/Hawara/#plan. You can download the plan, the proposal, and just if anyone's skeptical about what's going on, it has been signed off by the Egyptian authorities. All activities at Hawara will be under the authority of the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities and the Supreme Council of Antiquities, which is like the highest that you can go in like Egyptian old stuff. They are also co-partnering with GEM, the museum, with Cairo University, with two British universities, Leeds University and Nottingham. There are some major players and major funders who are going to start the excavation process and the rescue process. So this is not a drill. Potentially this year we could start finding parts of this lost labyrinth. Do want to shout out that it is the man, Louis de Cordier, who is the original guy who did the Matahar expedition in 2008. He is the one that has been bringing this project all together, finding the funding, making the contacts. He is the reason why the labyrinth is going to be found, and I couldn't think of anyone more justified to take that title, because he has been fighting to tell the world about this for years and years. So let's help him spread the message. Please go and look at archaeologicalrescue.org/Hawara and keep an eye on this because
Cain and Abel were the distraction! While the world was arguing over a murderer and a victim, a third lineage was smuggled onto this planet in order to...
Stop giving this any of your attention. It's an
emotional
and spiritual energy suck, and I'm going to prove it to you. I just need to appeal to your common sense. You really think our government cares enough to put together the money and manpower to put together a 3 million page document? Come on, people. Second, do you know what's coming tomorrow? Well, there's a Ring of Fire eclipse coming February 17th. You know, eclipses which are widely viewed in a spiritual sense to bring positive energy for deep inner work and clearing of stagnant energy and accelerating positive life changes. That's right. They want you emotionally distraught from the 95% of nonsense in there. Now, I'm not saying there's not truth in there, but most of it is literally angelic intelligence gobbledygook. And I already did a video on this. It's literally why they're spreading misinformation about Earth potentially losing gravity on August 12th. Because there's a total solar eclipse on August 12th, and it opens up the Lionsgate portal. You know, the one that is known for amplifying spiritual growth and manifestation with high frequency and energy. And they do this all the time. They plan events to suck your emotional and spiritual energy so you don't upgrade, so you stay stuck in a low vibrational fear state. Oh, and speaking of the Lionsgate portal, which is coming this August 12th, well, in 2024, it was on August 8th. What started that day, August 8th in 2024, just one of the most positive and uplifting and high energy events of the year, the CrossFit Games, where a bunch of fit, energetic people come together and watch a bunch of other fit people compete. And you know what happened at the very beginning of that on that Lionsgate portal day?
What?
I've done a video on this, and I'm not going to go into more detail here, but let's just say if you don't realize they faked this for emotional response and trauma-based mind control, well, you should look up some videos on the Challenger explosion and how they found every single last one of those astronauts alive. Oh, and the hundreds of videos I've done on celebrities dying. But of course, all this for entertainment purposes. I'm sure that every last word in the 3 million pages, shocker, it's 3 and 3 for those that know. I'm sure every last word is honest, darn good researched truth, and not spit out by AI, which is angelic intelligence, by the way. Entertainment only. Stay positive, upbeat, focus on the positive. Don't watch the news, don't watch their gobbledygook, and don't believe anything you see on the television, my friends. Entertainment only.
I'm about to tell you all about one of the wildest communities in the whole United States, and it's a place called Fairfield Glade, Tennessee. Okay? I can't make this place up. It is full of... I'm going to go ahead and say it. The most entitled, prissy people I've ever met in my entire life. These people one time demanded to have their own line in the Crossville, Tennessee Walmart because they did not want to wait in the line with the normal folks. I'm not joking. This whole community is like average age, 75 years old or older. They all drive like Cadillacs and like BMWs, like your classic, just rich, old white neighborhood, okay? Of course, it's all an HOA. They have rules about everything. And like that's the kind of like they did not want to be in line with the other folks. They wanted to have a designated Fairfield Glade resident line in Walmart. And I used to live next to this community, and like you could tell, you could be out in town and you'd see somebody, and you're like, oh, that's a Glader, that's a Fairfield Glader, you know, because they had this whole different air about them. Like, I don't know, you could like smell them. Like there's like a certain like scent they give off. Like I don't know if it's some kind of cologne they all share or whatever, but they all look at you like you're the scum of the earth. If you even have a tattoo, they're like you're a death row inmate on the same level essentially. Like blew my mind the way the attitude was up there, and a lot of people are going to hate me saying it because like that area is like so like ritzy. I'll probably get sued for this video. So listen to this. There's only 9,100 estimated people that live in Fairfield Glade. And they have 5 golf courses. This is not a town. This is like a community. Think of it as a gigantic neighborhood. They got 5 golf courses in this giant ass neighborhood. They have 11 lakes.
Dolphins and sharks worship the same God. This video is not actually meant to go viral. It's just meant to give you what reality actually is. So buckle up. So standard biological models treat genetics as the sole architect of form. Right? This presentation argues in a neurotic paradigm that non-genetic construct governed patterns are the primary sculptors of biological identity. In other words, I'm about to prove to you that spirits are very real using biology and metaphysics. So genes are clay, not the sculptor, right? So genes operate blindly. They do not know what a wing or lung is. They mutate without foresight. Genes only persist if the organism they help produce functions successfully in specific ecological context. Therefore, genes cannot be primary explanatory source of biological form. They provide the material, but not the blueprint. In other words, you can't say genes are the reason why wings develop because they don't have that kind of information. They're just genes. I'll break it down more for you. Here's the empirical fact of non-genetic recurrence, right? From a fish, a reptile, and a mammal. I want you to really think about what you're looking at right here. Don't just say, oh, what a cool coinkadink. I want you to understand that these are three different kinds of animals. Completely different classes. Completely different evolutionary story. Right? A mammal, a reptile, and a fish. All forming into the same form. Right? Distinct genetic lineages repeatedly giving rise to a highly similar functional behavior in ecological complexes, right? So examples include the pack hunting, aquatic streamlining, and flight, right? These similarities arise without shared ancestry or genetic transmission. Right? So this directly falsifies the claim that specific genetic history is the unique source of these forms. You cannot make the argument that the only reason why these forms exist is simply because of genetics. They do not share the same genetics. They are completely different. Right? So think about it. So what recurs is a strategy, not a history. Okay? If a structure recurs across independent material histories, right? Then it's not stored in those histories, right? What recurs in convergent evolution is not DNA, but a stable organization of traits.
So the first thing I would say is, yes, it furthers the CCP's goals to have as much cheap, crappy, poisoned pot as possible on the streets, widely available as possible. So instead of being, fit and patriotic and ready to join the military, you're sitting on your couch smoking poison pot all day playing Xbox. Like you can see how that furthers the CCP's goal. But they also have established a network that is multimodal in that some of these products are distributed in the form of vape cartridges. So they're just they're like nicotine vapes or traditional cannabis vapes, where it's just a little canister that's got some oil in it. And that's the extracted, refined, 99% THC version of the product. You create that by stuffing a metal tube or a glass tube full of cannabis leaf or cannabis bud, and you blow butane gas or some other kind of gas through it, and all of the oils dissolve out into that gas, including the pesticides, fungicides, by the way. Out the bottom comes the pure THC, which is then used for gummies, vapes, whatever kind of product. But the end result is that you get these little teeny weeny canisters that you can sell at hemp shops, head shops, wherever, all over the United States. And people are going to pay to have them distributed. People are going to pay to buy them, and they're going to put them up to their mouths and they're going to suck on them because they think they're going to get high. And if you were a planner for the Chinese military and you wanted to do something bad to the United States, what better network for the distribution of a chemical or biological weapon than a network that's going to self-distribute these little vials, millions of them, to 10,000 different little tobacco shops and head shops all across the United States, and people are going to suck it directly into their lungs. So there's a lot of hypotheticals and potentials there, but it certainly exists, and that's the network that they've built. And in the meantime, they're accruing hundreds of billions of dollars to do whatever they want with, to support human trafficking, to support bringing things across the border, to support buying up properties in New Hampshire, to support buying up real estate next to military bases.
Are the Chinese involved in the hemp stuff too?
Yes.
They are.
Yes. It's really all one. I guess one system or one network. There's not a lot of differentiation between the hemp and the cannabis. There's cannabis that's being passed off as hemp. There's hemp that's being passed off as cannabis. And once they're they call it blowing it out. So once you take, in Oklahoma, you can grow a huge field of hemp legally, harvest it, and you blow it out by putting the plant biomass into a canister, passing the gas through it to do gas extraction, and then the end result is all this oil. And then there's a couple of different cannabinoids that are in that oil. With hemp, the most prominent one is CBD, and you can convert that CBD into THC. They call those products conversion products. And then that THC is indiscernible from the THC that you would get from growing cannabis at, a flop house in Bexar, Maine. So they're basically the same thing, but our politicians and our regulatory system treats them like they're completely different. Like Representative Comer just the other day put out a statement about the value of the hemp industry and how important hemp farmers are the backbone of America. And I'm sure that there are a couple of guys who are growing hemp in an honest way to use it for industrial products, but the most of the hemp is being used for consumable hemp products.
How long ago was it that you found out about the 270 homes that the Chinese are using in Maine?
That was in 2022.
How many are there now?
Probably 500.
500?
Maybe more.
More than that. So
yeah. And it's not just houses where they're growing marijuana. We found boarding houses, places that are set up for a large number of guys to eat, sleep, and in between cycles going out to tend to the marijuana plants.
That was in 2022?
Yeah.
Or 2022, you found 270 homes. Now there's well over 500.
Yeah, so in 2022, that was when the memo came out revealing the existence of these locations.
Trump's team just posted a video to his account that has the Obamas depicted as monkeys. Now I'm black. Surprise! So yeah, my first reaction was the same as yours. What the? Then I did some research. Trump's account posted a 60-second video about voting. At the very end, for less than a second, a completely different video appears, one depicting politicians as animals. That second video has nothing to do with the first. Someone screen recorded the first video. The platform auto-played the next one, and they didn't cut it out. They were careless. This happens to me constantly as a content creator. Try it right now. Screen record a social media video on your phone. Watch what happens when it ends. The second video was made by some random person on the internet who was thoughtless at best and racist at worst. But I don't think Trump's team even meant to include it. More likely, someone got sloppy with a screen recorder. That's what happens when a staffer posts 60 times in a night. Now, as a person with a right-wing bias, it would be convenient to be quiet. But as a black person, it would also be convenient to be outraged. I'm not going to do either. I was emotional, but then I slowed down, calmed down, and took my time. Now, the White House did say it was an error by a staff, but their first response was Caroline Leavitt dismissing it as fake outrage. That's not accountability. Real accountability sounds like this was careless. We understand the sensitivity, and we're sorry. And we desperately need leaders owning their mistakes. Now, elected leaders are accountable.
Come on now, CenturyLink. Seriously. Hello.
But we are too. Predictably, within minutes of this post, people with a left-wing, anti-Trump bias use this as proof of what they already believed. That he's a racist. No investigation. No mention that it's a 1-second clip at the end of a 60-second unrelated video. No curiosity. Just, see, he's racist. I told you. There's a principle in philosophy called Hanlon's razor. It basically says, Incompetence is more common than malevolence. Mistakes are common. Malice is less common because malice requires intent and intent requires effort. But here's what we actually do. When someone we like does something bad, we assume it was a mistake. When someone we don't like does it, we assume it's malice. That's not a principle. That's a preference. It's confirmation bias. We see what we already believe. The real principle is this: innocent until proven guilty. Incompetent until proven malicious. Not just for people we like, for everyone. I can't read minds, but I just told you what I think is more likely with evidence as to why. Maybe you disagree. Maybe your confident Trump is a sincere racist, and this was an intentional attack. Okay. What evidence would change your mind? If you want to support someone being honest about their bias but fair in their analysis, become a paid subscriber on Substack.
Healthy skepticism is important in doing what I do. Be able to objectively look at what's being presented to you on Instagram, YouTube, on television, in the news, whatever it is, it's important to be able to have a way to filter out what is real and what isn't real. I'm going to bring to you another clip from the much longer clip of the SP7 session that I brought to you already a few times on this. I will post a full video on my YouTube channel under the same name as my handle here, the Ghost Dad. I have spent years doing paranormal research, trying to find if there is any type of evidence of real paranormal activity happening. What I'm bringing to you is what I consider real spirit communication, or real communication. Now it could be coincidental. I'm not saying that it cannot be. It's not the full scientific method of proving a theory, but it is about as close as you can get doing what I do. Have a look at this clip. Let me know what you think. If you do not think that I'm speaking to some type of intelligent energy or spirit or whatever you want to call it, that's fine. I'd love to hear your comments below. Let me know what you think it is. If you think it's coincidental. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. I'm not trying to change your beliefs or any of that kind of thing. I'm just bringing evidence of stuff that I'm doing out in the field for you to review and make your own decisions. Thank you so much for watching.
How many people here need help?
How many people here need help? Ten again. Holy smokes! Did you hear that? It went 10, 9, 8, 10. That was over several different sweeps. Okay, so we got 10, 9, 8, 10 over several different sweeps there at the very end. That's wild. So, Gabriel and I will pray over the space before we leave and see if there's anything we can do to help whatever may be trapped here. Thank you so much for watching.
Say good night, Gobble.
Good night.
Today, I want to talk to those of you who are feeling that pull, that awakening, but you're terrified. Terrified of what your family's going to think and what your church and friends are going to say. Terrified that they'll tell you that Satan is pulling you away. I know that fear. I lived it. But here's what I finally realized, and this changed everything for me. This journey is about me. It's not about my friends. It's not about my family. It's not about my church community. This is about my soul, my connection to the divine, my truth. I spent so much time worried about disappointing people, worried about being called deceived, worried about losing relationships. And you know what? Some of those fears came true. Some people didn't understand. Some pulled away. But what I gained, what I found to me my true self. That divine spark within that Yeshua told us to seek. The kingdom within that's been there all along, just waiting for me to recognize it. And I realized all those things that I was scared of, they didn't matter nearly as much as the feeling I get from recognizing who I truly am. From connecting with Source directly without needing somebody to stand between me and the divine. That freedom, that truth, that connection, nothing compares to it. If you're feeling that pull right now, if something inside you saying there's more than what you've been taught, that's not Satan, my friend. That's a
Sorry, guys, the internet really sucks, so hopefully he'll be back in just a second. Luckily, we'll be changing providers here pretty soon, so
awakening.
We won't have any of this happening.
That's consciousness. That's your soul remembering. Yeah, it might be a little uncomfortable, sure. And some people might not understand. And yeah, you might lose some relationships. Though the ones that are meant to stay, they'll stay, even if they don't agree with you. But here's what I need you to hear, okay? Your spiritual journey is yours. Not your pastors, not your families, not your churches. It's yours. Yeshua said the kingdom of heaven is within you. Not a building, not an institution, not controlled by gatekeepers who will tell you how to find God within you. He was telling us to look inside, to find that divine connection ourselves. And when you do, when you finally stop letting fear control you, and you step into that truth, friend, everything changes. So if you're feeling that pull, if you're scared but curious, if you're tired of letting other people's opinions dictate your spiritual journey, I want you to know you're not alone. Thousands of us have walked this path. Thousands more are walking it right now. And on the other side of that fear, there's freedom. There's truth. There's you, the real you, the divine you, the you that's been waiting to be recognized. Because this is about you, your journey, your truth, your awakening, not mine, not anybody else's. It's about yours. Give yourself permission to seek it. And I'll see you on the next one.
Okay, so if you guys are wondering who that is on TikTok, that's Dan Tracy 777 soulsignal.space.
He's bringing it.
All right. Well, on that note, boys and girls, we are going to go to our first music break, and on this break, we have the lovely and talented Miss Mia Savage from the Phoenix, Arizona area. She will be singing Let Me Be Your Home, Lemurian Crypto. Probably need to get a mouse. For a new reality. Your skeleton, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
the shit that he brings anymore. You're mine. You're mine. Tonight. You're mine. You're mine. You're mine.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. We've been checking out some trippy TikToks, and it's been good so far. I would like some more variety, but let's see what we can find here.
Here's a list of celebrities that people have rumored and speculated that are either immortal, time travelers, vampires, Maybe they're drinking that adrenochrome and getting to start their life cycles over, or maybe they're just getting reincarnated over and over again. Okay, so here's a list. Here's some photos to go along with why people think this. Like these people appear to have been in photographs over centuries ago, or decades ago. You know, when they look the same age. So take a look at these. See what you think. So a lot of these are actually going to be like old medieval paintings before photographs even existed. Okay, this first one's going to be Michael Jackson. Then there's going to be Orlando Bloom right after that. Now it's worth noting like the Orlando Bloom, when he was a famous writer back in the day, apparently, like if you were to believe this. Okay, and that seems to be on par for all of these. Like we're going to get into more in a minute that seem to have been like kings or queens in the past. There's even a modern day one where it appears that they might be existing at the same time, and people are speculating that it could possibly be a clone. Okay, there's this lady named Xena, and she is actually the daughter of the founder of the Church of Satan. Okay. Look at this side by side of Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of people talk about Taylor Swift being in the Illuminati and them trying to control the masses. Well, of course you're not going to listen to somebody who's literally the daughter of the founder of the Church of Satan, but you might listen to a pop artist named Taylor Swift. Okay, and then this one, I thought this was the most like spot on one of these three was Matthew McConaughey. Now here's some ones that appear to have been like in some old-timey photos. First of all, here's Eddie Murphy, which you know, I thought this one's pretty spot on, but the most spot on one on this whole list, hands down, belongs to Jay-Z. This was a photo taken in Brooklyn, like back in the 1940s. Okay, that looks like spot on Jay-Z. Now, a lot of people are saying that you can have doppelgangers over the years. Maybe this was a distant relative of his, like great-grandfather. Could have been. It's just crazy how spot on these are. Okay. Now the last one on this series, like old pictures, David Schwimmer. This one once again, I mean, is right on the money. Now, if it wasn't for the ear thing, I would swear this was Nicolas Cage. The ears look too different. It doesn't mean that he could have had like surgeries or facelifts, or like we talked about earlier, it could be possible like reincarnation type deals or like cloning over the years. That is one theory that a lot of people like to allude to, is that maybe they clone other individuals or like have a clone of themselves. So if they ever get sick or have organ failure, they've got a perfect organ that would go right into them. There's actually a movie about that with I can't remember, the guy from Die Hard. Now we're going to get into like some Civil War and Revolutionary stuff. We already kind of touched on Matthew McConaughey, but look at this one of Justin Timberlake. This is a Union soldier, I'm sorry, a Confederate soldier, next to a photo of Justin Timberlake. I mean, it is the exact same. Okay. Now Revolutionary War, this is wild, but every photo that you can find of Paul Revere looks exactly like Jack Black. Like could you imagine like some modern movie of Jack Black? You know, he's riding on the horse. It's Paul Revere is spot on Jack Black. Now this next one I'd like to believe is just like a distant relative. But John Travolta, this it's like the same jaw and mouth. He has such a iconic jaw and mouth that is like so unique. It's weird to see somebody else have the exact same jaw and mouth as him. Okay. This next part we're going to jump into like political figures, kings, queens, things like that. Okay. And the first one is Sylvester Stallone. Looks just like Pope Gregory. And then Mark Zuckerberg is a spot on doppelganger for King Philip. I mean, just like right on that. Now the next two are like people that look exactly like old-timey actors and actresses. And the first one is Jennifer Lawrence. And the actress that she looks exactly like was famous in the 40s and 50s. Okay. And the next one is the girl from Emily in Paris. Once again, can't remember her name. Looks exactly like the girl from Breakfast at Tiffany's, Aubrey Hepburn. And once again, this next one looks like Johnny Depp was just playing himself like in a younger, like it just looks like a younger version of Johnny Depp right here. The one after this, though, I really thought was fake, and I had to look it up over and over again. And I cannot find any proof that this next photo is fake, because you can't tell me that's not Jimmy Fallon. And
my gosh,
that's Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon with the crazy mustache. That's a Saturday Night Live skit right there. And I'm going to leave you on this list with Maggie Gyllenhaal and Rose Lane. Okay. Once again, they are spot on. They could be sisters. They could be mother-daughter. I mean, they are each other's twin.
I want to talk about this verse right here. Romans chapter 13, verse 1. When it comes to people like me who expose things, and sometimes it's a political figure, this is what we get. Let every soul be subject to higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Peter also wrote a verse similar to this in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 13. Submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether it be to the king as supreme. Now these verses are often used to crush dissent, or stifle protest, or discourage civil disobedience. But if y'all haven't noticed, we live in a time where dissent is almost necessary. All around the world, we are witnessing the rise of strong men. These men try to rule with an iron fist, and they seem to have little regard for justice. And if we don't wake up, we can find ourselves treading on the path of the German church. Back in that day, good citizens or good Christians stood by and watched their vulnerable neighbors get crushed by government authorities. So let's take a look at these passages in context. After Jesus' death and resurrection, King Herod was mad, and he arrested some of the believers. That included James and Peter, and they were put on trial. The night before the trial, an angel of the Lord came to Peter. He removed his chains and opened up the door, and then led him out the main gate of the prison. After he left the prison from being arrested and not following the law, Peter then wrote this. Now let's take a look at the Romans verse. While Paul was in the city of Damascus, he escaped from a strongman city governor because he was trying to arrest him. And he did this by putting himself into a wicker basket and being lowered down the city wall. And then he wrote this. And no, this doesn't mean that they are hypocrites. There's just a disconnect between Peter and Paul's actions and how we interpret the passage. And the key word is submit. They translated the Greek word used in this passage to submit, but it really means to arrange stuff respectfully or in a orderly manner underneath. And this would have been understood by the original readers, but it becomes obscured when it's English translated. This word is also used in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22, when it encourages husbands and wives to submit to each other, and it reflects God's concern for order and respect. Paul and Peter believed that governing authorities are necessary, and they're necessary to keep peace, because God is a God of order. But see, there's another word, and it is translated best as obey, and it literally means to conform or to follow a command. And Peter and Paul could have used this word, but they chose not to. The word for obey is hupokoro, and it is used 21 times in the New Testament. And it's usually used in the context of children or slaves, and their parents or masters. And although Paul, Peter, and others disobeyed the law that were in conflict with God's commands, they still submitted to the authorities. And they accepted the legal consequences. And there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to instances like this, because we read about them in the Old Testament as well. The first people who sought to worship Jesus when he was born disobeyed King Herod, and that offense was punishable by death. And we read in the New Testament many disciples ended up in prison. As Christians, the law cannot be our ultimate moral guide, because slavery was lawful and the Holocaust was legal. Many of today's laws are created to protect corporations and not individuals. The law does not dictate our ethics. In Exodus, Hebrew midwives refused to carry out Pharaoh's orders to kill newborn babies. Christians don't have to break laws to expose evil, but they have to be brave enough to do it. There are times as followers of Christ that we are to stand up and give them a holy no in the face of evil. Romans 13 does not undermine that posture, it informs it.
And so legitimately don't know what China is doing on the other side of the moon?
No, we don't. Because the other side of the moon, most people may not know this, but you only see one side of the moon in the way that it rotates and orbits around the Earth. It's a very interesting phenomenon in orbital mechanics, but it's and so unless we have a constellation of satellites flying around the moon that can see and understand what's going on, we're blind, and that's one reason they're over there. But let me give you a commercial
set, Steve.
Yeah, I'm getting real upset. So this goes back to a strategy and why I'm in the space business, because space is the place where if America does not change our strategy and how we're investing in space, we will become victims to others that use space as a way of dominating the energy market, but also the information market. So here's an example. About a month ago, Microsoft announced their quantum computing capability, which is just next level and awesome. But they need to cool it down to 80 millikelvin, which basically is almost down to the point where the molecules don't even move. Okay. there's really no way to cool it efficiently down to that level. Helium or hydrogen would only get you down to maybe 1 Kelvin. You need to go, much lower than that. Helium-3 can do it like that. So let's take a scenario where China now has enough helium-3 as they're mining it on the moon and bringing it back to Earth to be able to power the entire world for thousands of years. And they are the ones that can actually operationalize quantum because they can cool it down to the temperature it needs to actually operate. Now, quantum sensing, quantum communication, when you start looking at and quantum computing, when you start combining those 3 quantum capabilities, sensing, computing, communication, and you can affordably cool it down to the levels where it can be operationalized. Now you've broken every code that ever was. I don't care how good your encryption is. They see every secret, every code, everything. From Bitcoin to things like the techniques of blockchain. Forget it. It's all going to change. And so there's an example of why not being in space with logistics and infrastructure to be able to move, to see, and to operate can make you vulnerable.
How long has China been on the far side of the moon?
Well, it's been quite a while. You can look back. It's been at least 2 years. The problem here is in my view, it is that we do not have a sense of how dramatically things will change with these technologies that are in space. We build better satellites than anybody on the planet. Okay, we build better fighters, tanks, ships, submarines. We build really cool stuff, better than anybody else in the world in many cases. There are exceptions, of course. But what beats good technology is a superior strategy. So China may not, they may be a fast follower where they look a lot like our F-22 in their fighters. They look a lot like Elon Musk's, rocket ships. They may be a fast follower, but they aren't interested in making better technology. They are building a strategy of logistics and infrastructure in space that will change the game for the energy and information market on Earth. And we are on a strategy that builds better satellites to do the same things we've done before. And there are efforts to do these other things, but it's not fueled by the kind of money to operationalize it and really compete. This is why, strategy eats technology for lunch.
Man, this is really alarming. I mean, who knows what they're doing over there? We know
we know they're mining. Okay, we know they're bringing back because we can see what they're bringing back, and this is all open source. We can, in open source, you can see some of the things that China's doing, and so we have evidence of some of the things they're doing, but we don't know the extent, and that's part of the problem. And this goes back to why truth and information is the most important element, because it's back to Sun Tzu and the art of war. Know thy enemy, know thyself. And if you are deceived in your own arrogance and your own dominance of the past, that what you did in the past is sufficient to win in the future, eventually you're going to be a dead man. And if you do not know your enemy well enough, not just on the technical side, but the cultural side. And this is why, having been raised in Africa,
these freaking files, y'all. Remember when I told y'all about Wendyville? I'm sure the people that's been with me that long will remember. Do you remember when I was talking about Wendyville? How I mentioned the son of a certain high-profile politician who had a certain laptop that had certain kinds of videos on it. Videos like the kind that were created in the cabin at Moon Valley and uploaded to the dark web where they were sold before people were processed like animals. Surely y'all remember all that, right? Well, remember how I told you that certain politician's son with that certain laptop was believed to have purchased certain videos from that certain cabin. And remember how I told y'all We will probably never find out the truth about how many people were there and what really happened to that cabin, because the FBI still has it under open investigation, because they are investigating a much larger cannibalism ring. Well, that don't seem nearly as far-fetched anymore, does it? In light of the absolutely disgusting contents of those files, I am sick. I am livid. I'm putting the picture up here so that y'all can look at it, but I cannot bear to look at it a second longer, so I'm about to take it off the screen. Are y'all done looking? Okay, good, because I can't with the babies. All the highest politicians, the celebrities, the everybody. It's everybody, y'all. They are eating the children. They are the ones kidnapping the kids and trafficking them. They're eating the babies. And some of y'all seem shocked that no one's been arrested. No one's going to be arrested, y'all, because who would arrest them? It is them. It's presidents, and it's congressmen, and it's judges. There will be no consequences. There will be no accountability through the system, because they are the system. There's, honest to God, only one thing we can do. We need to drag them out of their mansions and their Lamborghinis and their plushy CEO offices and drag them out onto the street and hang them. Hang them all.
If you're ever feeling useless, just remember it took the U.S. 4 presidents, trillions of dollars, thousands of lives, and 20 years to replace the Taliban with the Taliban. We live in a time where intelligent people are being silenced so that stupid people won't be offended. Attention, if you have more than 3 baby daddies, please don't vote. Chances are you're going to pick the wrong man again. Thank you. This might be hard for the pro-trans crowd to understand, but when a 5-year-old says they're a pirate, you don't chop their leg off. Studies show that 97% of scientists agree with whoever is funding them. Schools will be like, drugs are bad, and then prescribe a 6-year-old Adderall because they don't want to sit in the same spot for 8 hours. So I can't assume your gender, but you can assume I'm racist?
Hello, and welcome to our new and existing members of the We Do Not Care Club. I started this club for all women in perimenopause.
I genuinely am at a loss because I was scrolling through my FYP before, came across 2 separate creators, both of whom it's their first account, both of whom have about 500 or 600 followers. One of them had put out 1 video and the other one had put out 2 videos. The one who had put out 1 video had, I think it was something like 13,000 views. The one who had 2 videos put out, that's it. And again, it's not like they've had their first account deleted and now they're finding their feet again. This is a brand new account. The 2 videos they had respectively were for 26,000 views and 41,000 views. And I've got 140,000 followers and I'm getting 800 views. I know I'm bitching about this constantly, but I am at the end of my tether because I'm producing content that when it slips past the TikTok net, people really like. Yeah, there are people out there that don't like. That's life, innit? But when
First one slept with a beat-up mannequin head. Story time. Now, trigger warning because some of this is going to be weird and graphic. When I was a kid, I got babysat by this woman that we'll call Miss K. And she was really sweet. But Miss K had an adult son who lived with her. This man was so effing creepy. On this day, it was summertime. We were all out of school, so we got dropped off really early, and we didn't go back to sleep. We all would just go outside and start playing. 4 or 5 of us kids are outside playing when we see this big deer coming through the woods. It's right on the yard line. It comes right up, and it starts walking into the yard. But when we look a little closer, we start to realize this deer is wearing pants. Yes, it has a deer head, it's got antlers, it's a deer, but it's got a human body. It gets closer and it's making that deer sound, and when it gets right up to us, we all realize That's somebody wearing a deer head. Miss K's son had taken the deer head off the wall and cleaned out the skull and stuff, and he was wearing it on his head. He had straps on it so it wouldn't fall off. He shoved a deer caw in the deer's mouth to his mouth where he could blow out of it, and he had deer hoofs on his hands. He was trotting around the yard on his hands and knees, wearing that big-ass deer head and those hooves, chasing the kids around. Yeah, the kids were terrified. They were scared as hell. They didn't know what this was or what was going on. Like, her son had this obsession with scaring us for some reason. It was weird. So we go in the house, and one of the kids tells Miss K that her son is out there wearing a deer head, and she said, oh, he does that all the time. Just ignore him. Another time, me and this little boy are in the living room. She had a floor model TV, and she let us watch cartoons. So we're laying on the floor in front of the TV, watching Bugs Bunny or something, when that little boy beside me starts screaming every breath. So because he's screaming, I'm looking in the direction that he's looking at the wall, and around the corner, we see somebody peeking, and they're wearing this scary mask, like a witch mask. It was creepy as hell. I could understand why he was screaming. So the little boy jumps up on the couch, covering his face with the pillow, crying, and I'm still laying on the floor, like on my back. Miss K's son, he's crawling on all fours, making this noise, and he crawls right up to my face and gets nose to nose and turns his head side to side like that. He just stares me eye to eye, and then he crawls backwards, still face to face, crawls out the room. And I just roll back over and start watching cartoons. Like, I don't know why I didn't tell my parents. I guess maybe because I grew up in a haunted house, that wasn't the worst thing I'd seen. I guess it wasn't scaring me as much as it did the other kids because I had been there longer and maybe I got used to it. He started doing that on a regular basis. Like, if you go to the bathroom, if you came out, you would see him wearing a scary mask peeking around the corner. Sometimes we'd be outside playing in her garden, like digging stuff up or planting stuff, and we'd look back at the house and we'd see her son standing at the kitchen window wearing that scary mask, just staring at us. There'd be times where he would climb up a tree and just be perched up with that mask on, watching us play. So one day, all hell broke loose when Miss K had to go to town to get some groceries. She couldn't take all of us with her. She had a car, so she let her son babysit us while she was gone. There's like 5 of us kids sitting in the living room watching TV. When 1 or 2 of the kids walk off, it was a boy and a girl, and they're gone for a few minutes. Next thing I know, I hear Miss K's son yelling, oh, y'all want to kiss? Y'all trying to make out? You think you're grown? Get in the kitchen. The rest of us get up and we walk to the kitchen, and he tells us to get out, so we go back to the living room. Like 40 minutes goes by, and he comes out the kitchen and says, don't none of y'all go in the kitchen, you stay in the living room, and then he goes to his room. I'm sitting on the couch. Remember, I'm like 7, and I can hear these kids like sniffling, but I don't hear them talking. Well, finally, Miss K comes back home, and she's got a carload of groceries, so she tells us to go outside and get the bags, and she wants to know where the other 2 kids are, so we tell her they're in the kitchen. We're out there getting the bags, and we can hear Miss K screaming from inside the kitchen, what the f did you do? Y'all, we run back in the house, and we see that he super glued this boy and girl standing face to face, hands to hands up like this, and they're stuck. They could kind of pull their hands apart, but they couldn't really because it hurt so bad. So Miss K grabs her son by the back of his hair, jerks him up, and mind you, he's an adult, and she drags him into the room, throws him in, and shuts the door. Like, you could tell he was scared of his mama. Then Miss K comes over to me and says, if he comes out of that room, I want you to grab my gun from behind my door and blow his damn head off. Do you hear me? And I said, yes, ma'am. I wasn't going to say no. I was terrified. So she spends the next couple of hours trying to peel their face and hands apart with some hot water in a rag. Has me standing guard at the door with that gun. So she had this short hallway, but all over the walls was pictures of her family. And I mean, there were hundreds of pictures. I walked down that hallway a million times, never noticed anything, but this one day, for whatever reason, the picture stuck out to me. I noticed every single one of them has the eyes and mouths burned out, like someone had taken the pictures out of the frame and used like a wood burner or a cigarette and burned holes in the eyes and mouths, and then put the pictures back in the frames and hung them up on the wall. So it's like a wall full of people with no eyes and mouths. And I do remember telling my mom about it that evening, but it seemed like she didn't believe me. One day, Miss K was outside checking the mail or something, I don't know, but we were sitting at the table eating, and I had really long hair, it was in a ponytail, and her son comes walking up with a pair of sharp scissors and walks behind me and grabs my ponytail like he's going to cut my hair, so I pull back, like out of his arms. And then he tries to pull it again, and I said, no, don't touch my hair. And then Miss K came in, and she grabbed him by his arm and jerked him back and said, I told you to leave her alone. He was always walking around me, like trying to rub my hair and stuff, and I would like flick him off, like stop. Now looking back, I can tell he was kind of targeting me more. I don't know what the deal was, but Miss K always protected me, but she shouldn't have had him there in the first place because she knew something was wrong with him. Something was wrong with that whole family. And this is crazy. The more I talk about it, the more I have flashbacks of things I'd forgotten. So another time, she had this big basket of strawberries sitting on the freezer, and she told us we could eat them if we washed them. And he came in with this bowl of stuff. It looked like powdered sugar, and he told one of the other girls to dip her strawberry in it and eat it. And right before she started to do it, Miss K took the bowl out of his hand and dumped it in the trash. She then looked at her son and said, what the hell is wrong with you? Get the fuck out of here. And he left. Now her son had this old beat up truck parked out front of her house.
Like laundry detergent or something.
Stuff, and the kids would go out there and play in it and dig around. So we're sitting on the grass near the truck, and 2 or 3 of the kids are in the truck plundering, and they come out with this thing, and when they walk up with it, it's like a switchblade, and they pop out the blade. And I said, whoa, put that back, like we're gonna get in trouble. But one of the little boys that was holding it said, look, there's red stuff on it. You reckon he killed a deer? And I said, I don't know, put it back. Even though her son wasn't there, for some reason I got this pit in my stomach, like I was really scared if we got caught, like we'd be in big trouble or he might would hurt us. One day the kids was out there playing in his truck and they found this like wrapped up engagement ring box. They opened it and there was an engagement ring in it. Now this guy never had a girlfriend, a wife, anything, but sitting there in the seat of that truck was an engagement ring. After seeing that, later the kids start asking Miss K, like, did your son ever have a wife or kids, a girlfriend, anything? And she said, no, he's never even had a girlfriend. And one of the kids said, well, there was an engagement ring in his truck. She said, where? So they went and got the ring and brought it back to her. And she's just sitting there looking at it like, she said she never seen it before. She took the ring, I don't know what she did with it, but she told us he never even had a girlfriend. So I don't know why he had that ring. I remember one day, one of the dads came to pick up their kids.
Or a
and they walked
job.
up to the porch. And she would never let the parents come in. Like, she would always stand on the porch and talk to them. So he was up there talking to her. And he was like, I got some puppies out here. You're going to give them away for free. Do y'all want one? And Miss K said, no, we don't have no pets. Her son said, no, I do want a puppy. Let me see them. And Miss K stomped her foot on the porch and said, no, I said no pets. You know you're not allowed to have them. But I got the feeling it wasn't because she didn't like animals or didn't want a pet. I think it was
Well, he
because she
would've
knew
heard
he
it.
would hurt it. Yet she had us kids in the house around him, so I don't know. Oh, I remember one evening he slipped off and went somewhere, and when he came back, he had this young girl with him, and they came up to the porch, and Miss K came out and said, no, you need to call your parents and go home. And her son was like, she's going to hang out here with us. And Miss K said, no, you're not allowed to have visitors, and you know that. So the girl ended up calling her dad, and her dad came and picked her up. She was a lot younger than him. Oh, and one day he was gone, and the kids went in his bedroom. And oh my God, I wish I'd never even went in there. He had magazines under his bed, and all the eyes and mouths had been like burned out, just like the ones on the walls. And there was like drawings on their faces. Basically, he was drawing wounds on these girls, like they'd been shot, stabbed. He also slept with this big mannequin head. There was no body, just the head, and his hair was all messed up. It looked like Cindy from Rugrats. It was all fucked up. He slept with that mannequin head every night, and he would walk with it around the house, holding it, like talking to it, trying to feed it and stuff, telling us it was his girlfriend. So it all came to a head one day when Miss K was in the back doing something, and one of our parents came to pick us up, and the parent managed to go in the house, and they seen some of the things that were in there and freaked the hell out. That little boy's daddy put all of us in his car and took us to our house and talked to each and every parent and told them not to ever take us back. I was really upset that we couldn't stay no more. I love Miss K. Now looking back, I'm thinking, what in the hell was going on in that house? Like, these people were crazy.
Guys, there is a new theory on how they built the pyramids, and I think it's my favourite so far. So the traditional theory is that they built a massive ramp and hauled the blocks up, like one by one, manually. Problem with this is that someone did the maths and like the physics, and the angle of the ramp would have to be no more than 10%. Otherwise, people start dying and blocks start sliding down. So in order for the ramp to get to the top of the pyramid, for that to work, your ramp would have to be over 2 kilometers long. And problem is, there's no evidence for any like ramps, ditches, any of that around the construction site. So what's this new theory? First off, you want to make a trapezoidal step pyramid, and each level you want to put these wee little ramps, which are definitely under the 10% physics grade for hauling blocks. You're going to zigzag your way up to the top, and why this is important that you do it exactly like this is because it creates a flat, wide space at the top. Because before, another problem with how you build the pyramid is how do you build it all the way to the top, and then how do you fit the top on? The Ben stone at the top is the hardest point. Up here, you've got a nice amount of space. Here's a bit of a better image on the working platform of the step pyramid, and then the rampages. Anyway, once you've built your pyramid, you're going to be left with something like this, and then you can see the outline for the actual finished pyramid is underneath. You work your way down and you literally chisel out and shape the pyramid from the top down, and you flipping that working platform of limestone, and they flip over and get shaped into the casing stones as you go down, which is how you could get it so amazingly pristine and smooth on all, working around all sides without having to build a 2-kilometer ramp on every single side of the pyramid. And then what happens to the rampage? Well, the rampage limestone you then dismantle and then recycle and turn into the next pyramid, or whatever other project that you needed on the plateau or anywhere else. So that explains why there is zero evidence for ramps and structures and things on the pyramid, because they were literally dismantled and recycled in this theory. That's why they call this theory the cannibalizing pyramid theory, because all the evidence is literally eaten as you dismantle your project. It's very efficient. It's very zero carbon waste footprint. I don't. This theory is logical. The physics make sense, and I'm gonna vote for this one for now. This is my favorite contender. I found this video theory on a new YouTuber I discovered called Dammy Lee Arch. I'll link her channel on YouTube, and there's some really great graphics and a much more in-depth look at this. But I wanted to shout it out because, guys, have we cracked it?
We are going to talk about something extremely weird today. Before I get into it, this is a true story, and I would submit to a polygraph at any point in time for anything I talk about in this video or any video I've said in the past. And the only reason I preface it that way is because we talk about extreme interactions that are not normal. Supernatural things have been happening to us for years now. So today marks the 1-year anniversary of the very first video of where I started telling my story of what has been happening and happening to in the lives of my friends and family. It has been life-changing, but it was all really kicked off by one pivotal moment that is super weird. July 28th of 2024, I am laying on my couch and I'm by myself. All of a sudden, I have this external energy running from the bottom of my feet through my body and out the top of my head. And I'd known something important was going to happen, and something significant. There'd been some interactions that had happened over the months prior that was building, and you could just feel something was imminent. And so as this was happening, the energy is flowing through me. It is getting to where I am breathing extremely heavily, and my heart is racing like I just finished a sprint. And so I have my hand on my chest thinking I might be dying because I don't know what is going on.
I know, it's so scary.
But I realize I'm not in any distress at all. So then my mind goes back to, okay, this has got to be whatever that was, what has been building, this has got to be it. And so that moment I realized that I'm fine, I said I'm ready. And as soon as I said I'm ready, all of that energy collects over the top of me into this ball of lightning. And it is saying, I am coming through you.
What?
And then it slams into my chest. It is pounding its way into my chest.
What the hell?
It takes 3 to 5 minutes. It is not painful at all, extremely intense.
Weird.
And so that lasts for a while, and then I have this radiating energy rolling through my entire body. I freak out. I run to the room where my wife had fallen asleep, and I wake her up, freaking. I can't speak. I'm crying.
No. Come back. Come back, Jack.
And I'm just so worked up, I have to calm down to even explain what just happened. These experiences are extreme, and trying to imagine that from somebody watching me tell this story, I know is difficult. So fortunately, with AI and apps like Sora, I was able to create a video that kind of visualizes what happened. I could get close. And so we're about to play a video for you to see that's going to show that moment. The only difference is the voice that was saying it is a female voice. And the amount of time it takes to enter my body is 3 to 5 minutes, but we only have 10 seconds to work with. So I'm trying to give you a visualization of what happens. So check this out.
I am coming through you.
After that moment, my life completely changed. And that very next day is when my colleague comes into town, and I start telling him what happened. And then within a week, he is having these similar type of interactions happening to him. And then we realize that this is something that can be induced. This level of contact can be induced. And so we taught a lot of people how to do this. And as things have unfolded over the last years, I've been even just telling this story, which is only 15 to 20% of everything that is happening, because some of this stuff is so bizarre. We have to go in baby steps as I tell this story, for people able to grasp that this is actually happening. It's all happening for a reason. We're going to continue to get into that. But I'm telling you, like, if this is something you want to do, I get people asking me all the time, how do we do this? I have a playlist called Start Hinder to Understand. This is where I first started talking about all of this. During that time, I went through a 40-day water-only fast as Just
crazy.
So wait a minute. I just want to clarify. You are 100%.
I'm not saying fasting is crazy. Like, there's really awesome benefits from it. Just how crazy experiences. The experience he's talking about. That's crazy. Is it like supernatural? Is it alien? Is it a mix of everything?
Certain that there are 1,000 plus Al Qaeda trained fighters within the United States borders.
Well, Al Qaeda says they trained and deployed 1,000 for this attack. First off, I think there's more than 1,000 Al Qaeda members in the United States. But for the Homeland attack, that number is based on what Al Qaeda is saying, so they could exaggerate it. However, they did have about 1,400 in the Hamas attack, so the number is not off from what they did in the first round of attacks.
Is there any indication of what kind of attacks these are going to be? Actually, before we get into that, how old is this information?
I mean, it's ongoing. So the training's already done, right? So all the training info is now old because they trained all the Homeland attackers, if that makes sense. So like next week, you're not going to get info of a Homeland attacker probably at a terrorist camp because it's already done. So all this has been in the last year.
So it's been over a year. It's been a year.
Because this was a continuation, so they planned October 7th first, and then they rolled into planning this after.
Are we next, or is Europe next?
I think the embassy attacks are next, in my opinion.
What are they waiting for the embassies?
I don't think they're waiting. I think it took time to train them. They've now approved them, and they've now moved into the operational stage.
What about the U.S.?
So the U.S., from what we've seen, I told you about the camps, right? That there's the advanced urban warfare. So we think it's going to look like October 7th, but it's actually based on, and October 7th was probably also based on it. It's based on the Mumbai attacks that occurred 15 years ago in Delhi, India. And we believe this for multiple reasons.
What happened there? Before we dig into
Yeah,
that.
we talked about this. I think it was my first episode. It was basically a terrorist group, Lashkar-e-Taiba. They did a number, it's called swarming attacks. They did a number of attacks in New Delhi, at a hotel, the Taj Mahal, I believe it was called, at like basically the train station, etc. The interesting thing about it, and this is why they're going to employ it now, is those terrorists were given kind of like latitude. One, they could change the location they were attacking, and they could change the modus operandi they were using. So for example, when they went into the train station, it was supposed to be a bombing. When they got in there, they said, wow, we can get more people just shooting them than putting the bomb together, and they them. Another thing that they did is in real time, information was being passed to them. So when they were in the Taj Mahal, they were being told what was on the press and what the police were doing, and they changed basically some of their movements in the hotel to make the attack last longer, okay? So this is the part that's going to be different, right? So Al-Qaeda always wants to innovate when it does its next attack, right? So I've already told you about the innovation of the suicide vests. Well, do you know we really haven't had a suicide bombing in the United States ever? There's the Nashville guy who did the strange, blew himself up in the car early in the morning when no one was around. That's kind of it.
The AT&T building?
Yep. So we have not had a man walk up to a building with a suicide vest on in the United States. Americans don't understand this. Al-Qaeda knows this, right? So this is new and innovative, especially now. You don't have to walk upside of the building. You can walk in the building because of the advancement of the vest. The other thing is, in the United States, we haven't had Fedayeen attackers. You know what this is? I mean, you'll know when I explain it. If you fought in, like, I don't know, Ramadi, Fallujah, you've seen these. So the concept is the terrorist fights to the death. So he's not exactly a suicide bomber, but he will fight till either all of us are dead or all of his people are dead, right? So this can go on for multiple days, like the plan was for Mumbai, for example. So we think it's going to be a swarming attack, right? Multiple different attacks at one time across multiple cities. We think there will be suicide bombings just because some of the attackers went through suicide bomber training and they have these vests, right? And then we think there's these Fedayeen attackers who will carry on until they're... The Fedayeen matters, right? I was watching, I want to say it was like 8 months ago.
Let me just rephrase that. So these guys are trained, and we already overlaid the video of their training, and they are going to fight until they're...
Yes.
There's no stopping them.
Exactly. And that matters, right? So I was watching this video and it was a suicide bombing in Kabul years ago. And it was the bomber blew up, okay? And then everyone starts moving in, the first responders move in, right? And then another guy walks in and blows up. We know this is a tactic, right? But if Americans don't understand this as a tactic and don't understand these attackers are going to fight to the think about that. So the battle's going on, the attacker surrenders, right? He might have the suicide vest. You know, we let our guard down. That man came to die, right? He's going to fight till he dies or you dies. So we can't let our guards down, and they know our weakness, right? So we have to be very careful that we don't have more people in the second and third order effects of not knowing their intent.
That is insane. Well, on that note, boys and girls, we're going to go to our second music break. On this music break, we once again have the lovely and talented Miss Mia Savage with... Oh, didn't erase that word. The bottom line, Singing to Your Grave, Not a Phase, and Bury Me in Heaven. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
There's a choice right now between fear and love. Choice right now between fear and love.
I'll be singing to your grave.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we've been doing Trippy TikToks with me, TessaTNT. And yeah, been pretty interesting. A lot of different bases covered. Let's see what we got going on here next.
You know what rock and roll is said to be, right? The devil's music. And well, maybe you've heard how maybe Lucifer was a musician in heaven because he was prepared with timbrels and pipes in him. Well, I want you to have a listen to something. Oh, and that's a 1848 statue of Lucifer.
But when you were little, you were found to be have a musical genius.
That's right. They said, well, my father and mother took me to a place, like an aptitude place, to see what I would be good at, what I liked, and what my talent was at pretty young, like probably 11 or 12. And I went through this process for a couple of days, and they came up to my father. They said, "Your son is brilliant at music. He'd be an incredible musician. But I do have an ear for music."
Yes.
And I really, I think music has played a big role. I play great music. People like the music I play.
Pretend, just for a second, that this is true and that he's actually Lucifer. And let's pretend, just for a second, that we don't live on a spinning ball but in a spiritual realm where Lucifer is real. And the Bible was actually trying to tell you something, like how Lucifer is frequently depicted as having the ability to shapeshift, appearing in different forms of human to manipulate or interact with mortals. Well, I've done some interesting videos that maybe you haven't seen.
What the heck is
Let me
this?
catch you up before I show you something even more mind-blowing.
Wow.
Let me just show you two more dots real quick. Right under the middle of his lip, right there. And right under the middle of his lip, right there. You see those? I couldn't help but notice how much Angus Young of AC/DC, this is an AI, that's a picture of him, resembled old Don. Really resembles him. And hey, Angus does the devil horns all the time. And do you know what Angus's real name is? It's Aberdeen. You want to see what that means? Aberdeen means mouth of the river Don. And Angus does the duck walk. Have you ever seen what Donald Duck looks like upside down? Do you see the hair?
Oh my goodness.
I wonder if good old Angus has those top left down to bottom right, two little marks that Elvis and the Don do. Oh, look at that, right in the center of his lip. Do you see those? I just put together a 10-minute detailed video on this for my subs if you're interested and don't think this is hogwash.
Lucy
And I don't
might
think
like
Angus
music,
is
but
the
I
only
love
one
music too.
Lucifer is playing the role of. Youngblood Mick Jagger. Mick, that just happens to mean who is like God. Lucifer is a jealous, deceiving, prideful fallen angel. And well, a lot of you may have voted for him. But of course, all this for entertainment purposes, people. I know I'm a chimp spinning on a ball in endless outer space.
I gotta save that.
Entertainment only.
He was the first Peter Pan, except he didn't get the fairy tale ending, the dark side of Disney, story time. So we all know that the Disney machine has chewed up and spit out a lot of child stars, but one of its first victims was a little boy named Bobby Driscoll. Robert Cletus Driscoll was born March 3rd, 1937 to his parents Cletus and Isabella Driscoll in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. His daddy was an installation salesman and his mother was a teacher. They were a seemingly normal family, but not long after Bobby was born, his family began to notice that he was getting a lot of attention. While all babies get attention for being cute, Bobby was getting extra attention, like people just had to stop and gush over him. Even as an infant, Bobby possessed a terrifying type of charisma that just mesmerized people. They would go on and on about his thick hair, his bright eyes, and his little button nose that naturally pointed upwards. They would pinch and pull at his chubby round cheeks, saying, "What a beautiful baby." His appearance wasn't the only thing that people noticed about him. They could also also see how creative, intelligent, and outgoing he was for his very young age. From the time he could talk, Bobby would sing, dance, do impressions. He had a great memory, and he was good at mimicking other people. The way they walked and talked, their facial expressions, their mannerisms, he could imitate them perfectly. He memorized songs, dances, and movies, and even make his own little skits. Around 1943, a doctor tells Bobby's father, Cletus, that after working with all the installation, he now has serious respiratory issues, and he needs to move somewhere with warmer climate like California. Cletus took his doctor's advice. They sold off their stuff, packed the car, and they moved to California. One day while getting a haircut, Bobby's singing, dancing, and cutting jokes when the barber tells his mom, "You need to get him in the movies. He's good." It's the cliche start of 1,000 tragedies. We hear it in every case. You should get that kid in the movies. They should be acting. It just so happened the barber's son was also acting, so they were able to help Bobby's mother get an audition at MGM for a small role, and they loved him. At 5 years old with no training, Bobby didn't just memorize his lines or know the marks. He got into the role. He became the character. He was great. They said Bobby had something as a child that most adult actors with training never have. When Bobby was told to cry, he instantly cried tears on cue, and it made you feel bad for him. And when he smiled, you felt happy for him. He made you feel like this was real. For a couple of years, Bobby plays a few little background roles, but nothing groundbreaking. Until 1946, when Walt Disney had taken over the cartoon world and was now looking for something new. He wanted a fresh face. Someone with a lovable, innocent face that would bring in a whole new generation of viewers. Walt had a knack for picking child stars, and when he first saw Bobby, he saw Disney's future. He knew Bobby was going to blow the brand up. He's not just going to work for us, he's going to bring these characters to life. Walt was in the process of creating Song of the South, which is animation live mix. Walt wanted a kid who could carry the emotional weight of this movie and work really hard, so he gave Bobby a screen test, and Bobby nailed it. So at 9 years old, Bobby starts working with Disney, but did not sign a contract because Disney Studios did not have contracts yet. So when Bobby came into the picture, Walt took Bobby under his wing and treated Bobby like his own child. This wasn't just a work-type relationship. They were now a family on and off the set. Bobby hung out with Walt's children. Walt would tell people, "Bobby is a son I never had." He would buy Bobby these extravagant gifts, and he would give him life advice, and Bobby looked up to Walt. He even called him Uncle Walt. When Bobby was 11, Disney approached him and his parents with the contract. They signed, and Bobby became the first actor to sign with Disney. Some of his co-stars began to notice that Walt was giving him a lot of attention, and he was starting to steal the show. There was some animosity on set. And Walt was known for love bombing and playing favorites. He treated these kids differently, and he got more roles, which wasn't his fault. Bobby was just doing what he was contracted to do: smile, look happy, work hard, and don't complain. And that he did. At that point, Bobby basically belonged to the studio. His hair, his clothes, the way he acted, where he went, what he said, where he worked, they controlled it all. So Bobby was earning over $800 a week, sometimes more, which was a lot of damn money at that time. It was more than his daddy made in a year. But before long, the pressure did begin to mount on Bobby. He couldn't have bad days. He couldn't throw tantrums. He wasn't allowed to feel bad. Bobby was told more than once, if you get sick, production stops. If you don't feel good, production stops. Disney loses money. Your family loses money. What you do affects production. You have to work. These kids were controlled by everyone around them. Directors, the executives, the creators, their parents. Everyone wanted them to smile and be happy and do their job so everyone else could get paid. As Bobby worked, his parents controlled his finances. He was a sole provider. He paid the bills. Now it's a routine of, if Bobby doesn't work, we don't eat. We have to depend on Bobby to live, and that was hard for him as a kid. Like most child stars, he's being overworked, living on set, not getting to be a kid while his family's living a life of luxury. And because he's worked so much, he has no friends, no relationships. He's socially awkward. He don't know how to talk to people. It was a well-oiled machine that was constantly being greased up with the blood of child stars. Bobby got so famous so fast that by 1948, he was the most sought-out child actor in the world. At one point, Disney let Bobby do a movie with RKO called The Window about a little boy that witnesses a murder but has been crying wolf and no one believes him. And that role was so dark and dramatic. And just like with Disney, Bobby was a professional on set. He didn't whine or complain, he worked. The movie was a hit and it earned Bobby a Juvenile Academy Award. So after The Window success, Disney did their first live-action film ever, Treasure Island, so they hired Bobby. This was a mass production, it was huge, and Bobby poured everything into his role. He was great. But it was the first time that Bobby got to see the dark side of the business and the media. They were filming in the UK, which had very strict child labor laws at that time, because kids were being so overworked and parents were squandering their fortunes. These laws were created to protect children like Bobby, but the studios didn't like that because they wanted to work them for hours on end and they couldn't without getting in trouble. So sometime after filming started, the British courts decided that Bobby was illegally working and they wanted him out of the country. When it was all said and done, Bobby got a fine and was deported. And of course the tabloids went crazy. They wrote, "Disney Golden Boy kicked out of country, working illegally, child star booted out of country," and it was so embarrassing for Bobby and Disney. And that put a big strain on Bobby and Disney's relationship, even though it wasn't his fault. Despite all the drama that went down in the UK, Treasure Island was a hit. So they come back from the UK, and Disney is still telling Bobby, you're going to have future work. Everything's fine. I've got another movie for you. So Bobby, who still loves Uncle Walt, thinks he's going to protect me. He's going to take care of me. And that's when they begin the works of Peter Pan. Now, a lot of people
Uncle
assume
Walt
that
doesn't
Bobby was
like
just the voice
kids.
of Peter Pan, but that is not true. In the Disney process of the 1950s animation, it was built upon live action reference, which meant Bobby had to become Peter Pan in person, do all the singing and the stunts while the artist drew him doing it on paper. So Bobby spent his days in a makeshift set, jumping, running, fighting, flying, pretending like he's fighting these imaginary people. And Peter Pan's face was not made up. It's based on Bobby's image. And it's kind of creepy when you put them side by side, just how identical they are. The eyes, the smile, the button nose, the hair sticking up. It's like they took Bobby and froze him in a cartoon. So when you were watching Peter Pan, you were watching the cartoon version of Bobby Driscoll. I tell you, Bobby poured everything into that role. All he had, his blood, sweat, tears, emotion, everything. Bobby worked long, excruciating hours doing the same scenes repeatedly until it was done. And I'm trying to clarify this to y'all so much because I want you to understand why what happened next hurt Bobby so much. Of course, Peter Pan was a huge success. It was all people could talk about. And just weeks after Peter Pan's release, production began treating Bobby differently, giving him the cold shoulder. And the old Disney curse was about to strike. Every child star's worst fear, hitting puberty, and it had just hit Bobby in a big way. So by the age of 15, no matter how hard he tries, puberty kicks in. His voice is cracking, he has acne, he's gotten taller, he's starting to fill out, and the cast and crew are beginning to whisper. And instead of changing the costume size or giving him a more mature role, they're telling Bobby, you're getting too tall, you're too filled out, your voice is too deep, you got acne, you're growing up, like we can't cover this up anymore. Like it's his fault for aging. These were people who watched him grow up on set, people he thought were family. They were treating him like a disease. Bobby starts to feel dirty inside of his own body. He blames himself for aging. He's doing anything he can to look younger. Bobby wants to please his Uncle Walt, and he's got to support his family financially. He is the breadwinner of the home. If he doesn't work, his family doesn't eat, but he's trying not to worry too much because he knows Uncle Walt won't turn his back on him. Now that I'm older, I've proven myself, I'm successful, Uncle Walt will give me the lead role in another film as a man. He's a part of the Disney family. He's worked hard and made everyone a lot of money. They're not going to fire him over acne, right? But what happened next was so shocking, it sent Bobby into a tailspin and destroyed the rest of his life. Part 2 of the Bobby Driscoll story is coming up. Stay tuned.
There is something so magical and special about finding something you're passionate about, like an idea or a business you want to create, and literally spend all night trying to work it out, thinking about it all morning, going to work, coming home, and then just not even resting and just working on it. And you're not going to feel great about it at the time. You're going to feel exhausted, overwhelmed, like you want to quit. There was times that, me and my wife, before we started Nomads, I would work 6 days a week, and then on our off day, we were just putting all of our time and effort into building what is now Nomads. And we didn't ever think it was going to get this huge. Obviously, it was just a passion for ours. And I can remember when we finally had our breaking point, when we were like, okay, we are not doing the typical 9 to 5 anymore. Like, we just jumped, because if you wait for the perfect time to jump on your passion, that time's never going to come. No time is ever the perfect time. There's always going to be an excuse on why you're not doing it, or, oh, I'll wait until next year, or let me save a little bit more money. So one day we just had a snapping point where we said, nope, no more waiting. This is what we're doing. And it was so gut-wrenching and so sickening to make that jump. I mean, I had a 6-figure career, and I left it for just a hope and a dream. I mean, and it did not go easy, guys. I know we might seem like a big social media page now, and like we've got everything working for us. That did not happen overnight. That was years and years of struggle, heartache. I mean, I would sit on the edge of my bed at night and cry because we...
Hello, guys. Right, so just a little disclaimer here. There is definitely something...
Oh, sorry. And if you guys do decide to do something like that, follow your dreams. That's good advice.
Something wrong with the page. I'm getting multiple reports from people saying that they're seeing old videos from like over a year ago popping up at the top of my feed. So God knows where this video is going to show up. It won't deter me from carrying on, though. I think the algorithm will eventually sort itself out. But for now, we just have to deal with a bit of distortion. Right. So this is the latest, and this is coming from News Nation. So there's it's on these leaked Soviet UFO intelligence files that were actually taken out of the country under the Iron Curtain by our very own George Knapp. Which is really cool here. So intelligence documents have resurfaced that were allegedly smuggled out of the Soviet Union over 30 years ago by investigative journalist George Knapp. At the time, removing these documents could have resulted in espionage charges, but he basically hid them in his briefcase or in his satchel or whatever, and then I remember listening to the story when he talked about it on Weaponized, and basically walked through customs and got out the country with, not a scratch, basically, which was great. Some files reportedly still have classified markings when obtained. The documents reveal the Soviet Union secretly ran multiple UFO investigation programs. No surprise there. This occurred while publicly dismissing UFOs as US propaganda. So they were aware that it was... can't get my words right. They were aware that it was real, and they still went along with this whole US propaganda machine that's been pushed since as long as we can remember, 50s, I guess. Thousands of cases reportedly logged, unidentified craft, close encounters, alleged abductions, military and civilian sightings. According to former FBI agent and UFO investigator Ben Hansen, the phenomenon was treated as a serious national security issue. These were not fringe reports. They were analysed by military intelligence at the highest levels. One of the most shocking cases describes a mass sighting in the 1980s. Hundreds of civilians reportedly witnessed a giant jellyfish-shaped object. Now, that isn't the first time we've heard this jellyfish story. We've heard that from Jesse Michaels and also from, I think, James Fox as well, when he did an interview. So we've heard that a few times from people stateside and in Russia. So that seems to be another thing, that entity or whatever it is that keeps showing up. And of course, the new things we've seen that look like those things out of Star Wars. They're, you know, the little black things moving around Hoth. Yeah, those things. They look just like that. That's the best way to describe them. So the estimated size of this thing was about 450 feet. That's big. The object hovered hundreds of feet above a populated town. The incident has been compared to the Phoenix Lights, but the Russian version, effectively. Despite the scale, the event is virtually unknown in the West. So the files show a sharp rise in UFO incidents after the late 1970s. I'd argue the reason why they're saying that is they probably changed the aperture on their radar signaling systems the same way they did during the Chinese balloon situation, where they started seeing a lot of smaller things moving around in their airspace that they didn't previously see, which resulted in recently, back in, I believe, 2021 or 2022, NATO aircraft shooting down unidentified objects over North American soil, which has never happened before, which went over everyone's head. My first videos on this channel, I talked about that.
Yeah, you heard a little bit about it, but then it was gone.
Very quickly. But I did save all the videos, thank God, including all of the reports from Sky News and CNN and MSNBC and Fox News on that too. So that didn't go away for me. I've still got it saved. Right.
Good job.
The spike mirrors what was happening simultaneously in the United States. While skeptics cite pop culture influences, investigators argue this was a global phenomenon. Major US cases from the same era include, obviously, the Travis Walton thing in the woods. We know about that very well. And if you haven't listened to Travis Walton, he was on Joe Rogan, so just type that in on YouTube and you can find that. The overlap raises a key question here, which is why were rival superpowers seeing the same patterns at the same time? Geographic clustering appears repeatedly in the data. Coastal regions, very, very popular area for these things. Large bodies of water. And of course, strategic locations, so nuclear sites, effectively, I think that's referring to there. Similar patterns appear in both Soviet and Western reports. The Soviet documents do not ridicule witnesses. Whereas if you look at the Western version of this, a lot of the people that are being investigated are ridiculed, and I think that's part of the propaganda machine in North America. Officials appeared to admit they did not understand the phenomenon. If authentic, the files confirm UFOs were taken seriously during the Cold War. Multiple governments studied the same phenomenon in secret. Public denial did not match private concern. And the core issue is no longer, did governments investigate UFOs? The real question is, why was the public kept in the dark for decades? Now, you know, that's a multi-pronged approach, and it's a very controversial outcome. But you know, if you listen to what Hal Puthoff had to say on these things, you know, they did a case study, they did a focus group, and they all came to the conclusion that it was not the right thing to disclose this to the general public because of the devastating impact it would have on mankind, or, you know, a black swan event, or, you know, the crash of the markets, etc. So, honestly, I think that we are a little bit numbed when it comes to news now. I don't think that this is going to be received nowhere near as devastatingly as people assume. And I think that focus group needs to come around again with a new, younger group from the IC and you know, other parts of government, and really understand if it's something that they can release now. Because I think that we're just desensitized to all the news now. I don't think we're going to have the kind of response that people expect. You know, when I talk about this and people actually look at the documentation associated with it, they don't seem to bat an eyelid. They're not really bothered about it. So, you know, what's to say that the whole world's not ready to hear this now? Personally, I think we are, certainly in the West anyway. So that's it for now. If you have any thoughts on this, please leave your comments below as usual. And you heard it first from DK, and I'll speak to you on the next one. Thank you.
Now let's talk about Appendix B, the rebuttal to report issued by Dr. Brent Turvey. And I've seen a couple of mainstreamers actually try to discredit Dr. Turvey, but this man has over 30 years experience. He's won awards for his work. I guess whoever doesn't agree with the thought police, they're going to try to discredit. On the first page of Dr. Turvey's report, he comments on the lack of blood detected in Koberger's vehicle. He states, despite an extensive and exhaustive forensic examination of the defendant's vehicle for bloody clothing, blood transfer, and other evidence related to these crimes, down to the metal, none was found. This has essentially excluded the defendant's vehicle as being related to the commission of these crimes. Failure to be absolutely clear and forthcoming about this evident fact would be evidence of bias. Also, by the way, even though it has nothing to do with this particular report, other filings from the defense also points out other evidence of bias in this case. But of course, Sutton responds that the failure to detect blood in the defendant's vehicle does not exclude the vehicle from being related to the commission of these crimes. There could be a myriad of reasons blood was not transferred to or detected in the vehicle. Dr. Turvey then comments on the lack of blood at the sliding door and states that on the second floor there is a sliding glass door which was found to be opened by law enforcement. It has been inferred that this is the location where the suspects may have entered or at least exited. There is no physical evidence to support this, as again, there would need to be requisite bloody transfer. If an intruder left the house through this door, having left it open upon entry, there would need to be bloody footwear patterns on the floor from bloody shoes or feet, both leading up to and out of that sliding glass door. And as we know, there were prints in the snow outside the sliding glass door, but they were not bloody, and there were no footprints leading up to the door. And Sutton just argues that the assailant could have removed bloody gloves or removed bloodstains before leaving. And okay, that's true, but where would he have put them? Or how would he have carried them and transported them without transferring anything anywhere? Not even on white snow. Down here at the bottom, Sutton argues that there are 3 possible exits from the crime scene, and there are no visible footwear transfer stains or secondary transfer stains at any of the exits. And yes, that's a problem. On the next page, we have the statement that has the mainstream media reporting on what Dr. Turvey had to say. Dr. Turvey indicates that Kaylee and Maddie were posed. The evidence suggests that after both victims were killed or unresponsive, they were posed in their shared bed. Kaylee was moved from a position with her head on her pillow to partially atop of Maddie. Then the comforter was placed over them both. Thank you, Dr. Turvey. What have I been talking about with those blankets since I started talking about this? So many people argued that no, they were covered up because they were sleeping. No, there is now an expert who is also of the opinion that the blankets were placed after they were killed. Actually, he's more than one expert, because another one, Sutton herself, said that about Ethan. And look what Sutton comments. This here should be notable to everyone, because anywhere that the defense and the state agree, you got an actual fact. And she states that posing is a possibility. So even the state experts know that them being posed is possible. But her argument is just that posing is a possibility, but not a determination that can be made to the exclusion of other explanations for their positioning. You know, because the state's narrative says they were not posed. Here it says that Dr. Turvey makes several statements regarding the extent of blood that would be on the perpetrator. And he says the extensive and close-up nature of the attacks on Kaylee and Maddie, along with the blood spatter evident in the room and the moving of Kaylee's body, are evidence that the suspects' upper bodies, face, hair, hands, arms, and chest area, would have been covered in blood. All available physical and blood evidence suggests that these were the first victims, that they were specifically sought out on the 3rd floor, and that the suspects then moved downstairs to the 2nd floor, where at least one of the suspects was observed by Xana Kernodle. This would have been covered in blood. And guess what Sutton's very first argument is? The term covered in blood is not scientifically quantifiable. This is more lawyer justice system talk that drives me freaking crazy, because all of them do this. They will focus in on the words you use rather than address what you said. They all talk in these wide circles meant to confuse you and to not address your actual concern. But she does admit that there is certainly evidence that the assailant in this case had some degree of bloodstains on the person or on objects in their possession, and that secondary blood transfers resulted by subsequent movement through the scene. But she says that the number and quantity of the bloodstains that were secondarily transferred in the scene was relatively small, too small, and then gives the same argument about there would have been a void from the perpetrator. Then she quotes something else Dr. Turvey said, where Dr. Turvey himself points out that there is a lack of bloody footwear patterns at the scene in general, and that the precautionary acts in this case include the execution of living witnesses, cleanup of bloody hands, feet, footwear, and clothing before leaving, and the disposal of said clothing along with the weapons used. Direct evidence of this cleanup can be found in at least some of the dilute blood transfer, which was located in different areas of the home. Indirect evidence includes the absence of bloody transfer from feet and hands, despite the movement of suspects within the homes, the necessary opening of doors, and the absence of bloody footwear patterns at the scene in general. And let's all put on our listening ears. All of this would have required an extensive amount of time at the scene to clean, perhaps hours, which is inconsistent with the state's theory that these crimes were committed within a time interval less than 15 to 20 minutes, subsequent to 4 a.m. Just like I mentioned yesterday, from the time we see suspect vehicle 1 enter the King Road area at 4:07 to when we see suspect vehicle 1 leaving the area at 4:20, it's only about 13-14 minutes. There is absolutely no way that the perpetrator, if this timing is correct, would have time to attack 4 young and healthy individuals, stab them all over 100 times, fight Xana, pose Kaylee and Maddie, and then clean up all the bloody footprints and all the other blood in the house, or most of the other blood in the house. And also take off his clothes and clean the weapon and get back in that car and be speeding around the corner. There's absolutely no way. Nobody is that good. Nobody is that fast, especially without leaving any DNA behind besides one spot of touch DNA or getting a spot of DNA in your car or your apartment. Like, that would mean BK was not only a super ninja, he would have to be a supernatural super ninja. And I don't think he is that. Then in number 4, Dr. Turvey refers to indicators of more than one assailant. And his number 1 point is such a good one. It is not reasonable to think that Ethan would have remained in his bed after waking up or being awake while Xana was being attacked in front of him. It 1000% would not be reasonable to think that. Then he goes on to say the evidence and context begins to suggest the existence of a second attacker. My thing has always been too, there's 2 people in each room. Y'all think they were just sitting there waiting patiently to be stabbed next? I think not. And Ethan was a big dude, 6 foot something. Big and tall and strong. Ain't no way he would have just sat on that bed, twiddling his thumbs, while Xana was fighting for her life.
You are not a human being! You're a trap designed to catch the reflection of a god. The Arkans couldn't touch the light, so they built a biological mirror in order to trick the divine into thinking that it was a prisoner. You're the bait and the cage. This is the Gnostic teaching on the creation of humanity. Yaldabaoth didn't just—
Okay, I had to bust out the
Roblox, Minecraft.
Okay, I had to bust out the pyramid tinfoil hat and the Dicenian goggles for this one because a former U.S. President Obama just confirmed aliens are real. This is, and you may be thinking like, I already knew that, or no, they're all fake. But it's just crazy because no one of this political stature has ever said that. So listen to this. Other than the former defense minister, I think Paul Hellyer was his name, of Canada, who said, yes, like governments work with aliens. Okay, that's what he said. I'm not saying that's true. Listen.
Do a little bit of a lightning round here because it's not often I'll get access to the President of the United States. So a couple questions here. Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51. There's no underground facility.
Yes, there is.
Unless there's this enormous conspiracy.
There is.
And they hid it from the President of the United States.
They would.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Aliens.
Where are the aliens?
Is there a person that you most want to meet that you haven't met?
So you must be wondering what my take is on all this, right? So I think for sure we're going to see some alien stuff in 2026. It's on the bingo card. They're already talking about it. We have the movie Disclosure Day coming out, which is all about aliens. We've seen the movie Signs. We've seen Alien versus Predator. Just so you know, we've seen Hollywood make many different themed movies and series that have then, those things that we've seen in the movies and series have happened in real life. We have seen a million Hollywood movies about aliens, and we have not seen aliens yet. So they predicted, programmed us with this, that, and the other. There's going to be aliens. Now, do I think this will be organic? Of course not. Do I think they're from outer space? Absolutely not. Outer space? You mean the firmament? You mean the outer lands past the ice wall? That's where they would be coming from. However, though, I don't think that's going to be this. Like, they could do anything. They could pull anything off. They could say, we need to give everyone an ID to make sure that we know who they are and that they're not aliens because the aliens are among us. Like, they could say something like that. Or, of course, there's something that rhymes with Schmroject Schmloomleem, and who knows if they're going to do a false alien invasion. I'm just saying, this is priming the audience. This is priming the populace, the masses, to begin to get ready for aliens if they weren't already. Let me know your thoughts on this angle in the comments below and follow for more.
Roblox, Minecraft, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat.
Okay, tell me about Roblox and Minecraft, because I don't know anything about gaming. I don't game. I don't.
Understood. I don't either, but it's part of the investigation. You gotta, you know, a lot of times I'm investigating, I end up on these games or apps, and Roblox is the one that I'll focus on the most because that seems like the majority of the issues right now.
I know little kids that use that game.
There's 75 million active daily users. So it's the largest child largest children's game in the world right now.
I've been telling people too about what you've been telling me for at least 6 months now about the 764 code. None of their kids are off of it yet.
Yeah, most people they throw their iPad at their kid, they put them on Roblox, and like I said earlier, little cartoon characters running around the screen, no harm in it. But something that most people see, like you didn't seem to even know, but like they just banned a guy. There's like a young guy who was actually groomed and had issues for himself on Roblox, who has a popular YouTube channel. He started catching predators on Roblox, just regular old predators that are interested in children, not these guys. And he got, to my knowledge, there could be more. There was 6 arrests. I saw 6 mugshots that came from this one guy. His name is Schlepp. And he went like mainstream on the media because Roblox sent him a cease and desist letter for being a vigilante on their platform. They did a press release saying that they're banning vigilantes from Roblox, did a whole statement. You should see this press release. It's unbelievable that all their excuses of why they think vigilantes should not be a part of Roblox. There are a ton of predators. Is this
publicly available?
Yeah.
We'll post that up right now too.
Absolutely.
So this is the official statement from Roblox saying why vigilantes shouldn't be taking down pedophiles and sextortionists off of their platform. They want these people on there. They want these fucking people on there to
That's essentially what it meant to me.
Your children, and your children are on here, and I'm fucking telling you, you better get them off. You better fucking get them off. It is going to happen to you.
Yes, these people, they're sitting predators. If you've noticed, parents.
What fucking parent keeps their fucking kid on there after we're telling them this shit?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but it's unbelievable to me. And predators hang out in spots where they can prey on victims. That's why there's so many teachers, why there's so many police officers, why there's so many, parks that things happen at, or gym teachers, or people in positions of power where they have access to children. That's where predators end up. And then people are surprised by it. They wonder why. Like, why do you think these people took the job in the first place? Do you think that they weren't a predator? They weren't a pedophile prior to taking the job? Like, they've always been one. So when they're on Roblox, and it's the largest children's game in the world, obviously
it's the largest children's game in the world.
Yeah, largest in the world. So when
largest children's game in the world doesn't want people on the platform saving fucking kids.
That's
Are
exactly
you
right.
fucking listening to this shit, people? The largest video game platform in the world doesn't want to take any fucking measures at all to save kids. In fact, they made a press release discouraging it.
Yes.
A cease and desist.
Cease and
Sorry,
desist
not a press
and a press release. Both.
And you're fucking paying this platform money. There's millions of people that are going to listen to this, and I'm fucking telling you, you are complicit in this shit.
100%. And let me tell you some more, Sean. So Roblox, if parents have their kids playing on it, if you're familiar with Fortnite, there's a similar in-game currency called V-Bucks in Fortnite, and Roblox is called Robux, like R-O-B-U-X.
Mm-hmm.
So if you went to Target or Walmart or CVS right now, we could go buy a Roblox gift card that a kid can cash in the game, and they get a Robux balance. So they'll get it for their birthday presents, or their parents will buy them these cards, which allows them to buy like outfits in the game or access to do fun things and in actual kids' games, right? Well, there's these public games where developers, like you and I, could be a developer for Roblox by just signing up to be a developer, put out a game, Roblox will host the game, and then everything that's purchased by these children in-game purchases, they make 30% commission on. So when they leave up a server that is talking about, child porn, in that example, they use CP as the term. And then there's other servers where they're blatantly wearing 764, shirts as characters. They got upside down crosses. They got satanic symbols. They have people in the chat logs talking about grooming. They have all these things, but they're profiting directly off of this stuff. And they don't have, to my knowledge, it's like it being the largest game in the world comes with some responsibility, for kids. And I believe you should have a full team full of people that are familiar with child crimes working in your content moderation team.
Constantly.
And if you don't, then you should be hiring these quote unquote vigilantes that you're kicking off the platform that are getting arrested on your platform. You should be hiring them because obviously they're making more of an impact than Roblox is, at least publicly.
Roblox doesn't want to make an impact. They want this shit happening.
I guess.
They want this shit happening.
It's hard to believe,
Otherwise,
but
they
yeah.
wouldn't be sending fucking cease and desist letters to people who are trying to save kids.
Yeah, wait, let me just pull up the press
People
release.
are fucking supporting this shit.
I want you to hear the title of this
It's fucking
press release.
wild.
The title of this
Wild.
thing, Roblox press release, vigilantes. Like, this is not something I'm just coming up with off the top of my head.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Okay, it's stolen land. Who should we give it back to? The Tongva, who lived in LA before we did? Or the Hokan peoples they conquered? How about whoever came before them? You know what? Let's just cut out the middlemen and give it to Adam and Eve. Look, emotionally, I get where Billy's coming from. There have been abuses of power by ICE. But errors in enforcing the law don't mean we don't enforce a law. It means we enforce it humanely and by punishing employers who hire illegally. That's why people came here in the first place. But look, politics aside, the history of humanity is violent. Men with spears took land from men with rocks. Men with guns took it from them both. It's a cycle that we need to stop. But if land has been stolen in the past, the answer is to fix the future, not adopt policies that self-destruct the country that's here now. Because America is not just a piece of land. It's a community. A community that built roads, rails, and running water so hundreds of millions of people can thrive, not just hundreds of thousands. A community of revolutionaries whose constitution inspired other countries. And here's the thing about communities. The healthy ones have strong boundaries, because no boundaries means no one builds. Would Billy invest in her home if anyone could walk in and live there? Would the Grammys be worth attending if anyone could show up? Would anyone build anything worth entering if they didn't have a say on who entered it? That's why private property exists. That's why the Grammys have security. That's why Billy's home has gates. The things we value have boundaries. And we should value America. But okay, I mean, they're already here. Why not just let them stay? Because the only difference between them and millions of people waiting to come here legally is that they were willing to cut the line. Because we gave amnesty to 3 million people in 1986, and now we have tens of millions more. Because when you watch people cut the line, you stop believing in the line and stop trusting the people running it. I mean, why should you even pay taxes if they get access? Why follow the rules if breaking them is rewarded? Now, does that mean we should do anything we want to people who are here illegally? No. They're humans and they must be treated humanely. But they aren't entitled to be here. America has its sins, but we can't get to the future if we're constantly beating ourselves up over the past. Because if you're driving forward while looking behind you, eventually you're going to crash. So let's be aware of our sins, but focused on our wins. If you'd like to support unapologetic truth-telling,
you're a bad little bunny, and I've been hunting for you. And well, a beautiful little birdie named Bianca gave me a little clue. Bad Bunny, Enrique Iglesias. Bad Bunny, Enrique Iglesias. Bad Bunny, Enrique Iglesias. Iglesias, who is very fond of bunny ears, and made sure to post "It's coming" while wearing those bunny ears. Enrique Iglesias, who just happens to share the exact symmetry to Bad Bunny. Lips, nose, exact eye and eyebrow placement. Even the hairline seems to be matched if he would just grow his out. And this goes down to more than even symmetry. Look at the exact same peaks, almost like a Batman cowl in their lips, in the same lower lip, and even the same crevice in the middle of their nose. Wow. What, as I say, an amazing coincidence. And then again, a perfect symmetrical match. The eyebrows, the eyes, the pouty little lips with
Not
Batman
perfect.
bunny
It's
ears
pretty
on them.
close.
And while maybe you don't know this about me, but I am a movement specialist, a kinesiology master, and I broke down human movement for 20 years. And well, it appears they both have rotated externally tibia and fibula to their quadricep, which will cause them to swing that leg out as they walk. Right there. Like I always say, they always like to tell us what's coming, and they always give us the truth in plain sight. Here's Mr. Agenda pushing 666, all-seeing eye, duality of black and white, and one-eye symbolism on SNL. Have a listen. See if you notice anything.
Before we start, can I say one thing?
Sure, Enrique, of course.
Excuse me, baking powder. Can we hear that one more time?
I say one thing.
Sure, Enrique, of course. Sure, Enrique, of course. Sure, Enrique, of course.
But some of you Bad Bunny fans out there might not be convinced. So I went ahead and found a few things for you, like that seemingly mark on his face right there. Oh, that just lines up like right exact in the same spot. Almost like that has been removed and left some sort of scarring. Or maybe on the other side of their face, how there's a mark there and a scar. Do you see that, a mark and a scar? It kind of looks like that mark. You know, right there. And a scar. Wow. This one brought me great pleasure because I can't stand this deceiving, lying, fallen angel. Entertainment only, though, of course. Bianca, you're the best.
Now, a lot of times, things that we can't explain, we call that paranormal. A lot of times when we witness it ourselves, we either call ourselves crazy, think we're probably tripping, or just say,
Was that magic?
That magic.
But let's jump back to this real quick. Modern medicine only started about 175 years ago. Before that, think about it, even if you just read the Bible, it says that we've been around for 6,000 years. What? Out of those 6,000 years, we've only had modern medicine for 175 years. So who's to say that these witch doctors and these mystical healers are wrong and that that's some type of satanic ritual, right? Well, my name is Armin. When I was about 4 or 5 years old, I had some of this, quote, black magic done on me. And I will say that it more than likely did save my life. Some of you that do follow me probably heard about this already because I've done a few videos just touching
know what that means, boys and girls.
I will drop it if you guys are interested in it. But I want to show
That
you something.
means that
This man
is
has been struggling with an
the end of our
illness for a
time
while,
together
so he
this
went
evening.
to a magic doctor, a witch doctor, a herbal doctor, whatever.
Millie and me live, if you want to continue on with that. But thank you so much once again for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Thank you to all of my friends out there wherever you may be listening beyond the Omniverse tonight. Had a wonderful time checking out these TikToks. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on out there. I want to dig deeper. I want to find more stuff. It seems like we did have a nice little spread there, but you guys don't forget, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. If you have the means, ability, or initiative, and you believe in what I'm doing, or you enjoy it as much as I do, please sling or fling some green my way. It would really help me out to keep this mothership afloat. You can donate at P.O. Box 663, Bayfield, Colorado 81122. And all TessaTNT at Cash App, at TessaTNT on PayPal, and Venmo at Tessa-Thomas-Peterson. Until next time, 99 love and light. Take care of my A's, and I will see you back here. Same crazy time, same crazy place.